One of the reasons that Elon Musk's companies are in trouble is because he was willing to help the government and the people.
To find out where the waste, fraud, and abuse was. And we found out that, not only DEI and not only the USAID sending money for the, all these crazy shows. But we found out that there are people who are between the ages of 1 and 4 are getting Social Security, that we've got something like $69 million of taxpayers who are dead.
Okay, but let
me just finish. But the problem is this, that the Democrats demand a full statement that Elon Musk is going to be gone. If I had a Tesla, I would put it in the garage because we don't know if those 130 days have to be consecutive. And what if he decides 130 days is not May 30th? That's number one.
Just yesterday, I saw on television, on Fox News, you had this woman, Jeanine Pirro. Crazy thing about Jeanine Pirro is that she's from Westchester County, where I went to public school, and it's like, wow, how things have evolved there. Anyways, so Jeanine Pirro goes on television. She says, as though this is fraud, she says that they found so many babies and 2-year-olds and 4-year-olds who were receiving Social Security. I've got a notice for you, Jeanine Pirro. Those babies get Social Security because their parents died. That's not a waste. That's humanity. That's America. That's the country that we fight for. Those are the promises we make to one another. That is what it means to be in a civilized society. It's not waste. It is the best of us.
Representative Alexandria Ocasio Cortez is busy on tour with Senator Bernie Sanders, and they're pulling in record numbers of people, and not just in blue states or blue districts. This week in the very red Ohio, they attracted over 12,000 people, almost 13,000 people to a rally. And as Bernie mentioned in an interview, they're not campaigning for anything right now. They're not running for re-election. They're not campaigning for any presidential candidate. They're just talking to people, and the people are listening. They're showing up to listen and learn and maybe just try to make sense of the world around them.
It's funny, I was hearing that earlier today on the television. There was someone saying, why is AOC, why are AOC Bernie going to Idaho? And I'll give you one simple answer. It's because you matter.
There is a lot of conversation right now on how much empathy or compassion progressives or liberals should have for the conservative Trump voters who are now finally coming around to the fact that Trump and the Republicans don't actually care about average Americans and that their policies don't support average Americans. Of course, they're only now coming to these realizations because perhaps for the first time, these Trump policies are negatively impacting them directly. And perhaps for the first time, they can't reasonably blame anyone else for their struggles but Trump.
This was the flag Jennifer Piggott proudly hung outside her home during campaign 2024.
I was a MAGA junkie.
A MAGA junkie who thought her government job would be safe with Donald Trump in office. She was wrong.
I cried. It's scary, it's a really scary thing. And I was embarrassed.
And I've got to be honest, I go back and forth with this stuff. While I consider myself to be an empathetic and compassionate person, there are limits as far as who and what that empathy and compassion extends to. I think I'm a good person, and by that I mean that I try to be a good person, even though I'm obviously not perfect, but some days are better than others. And just for the sake of this conversation, I am not talking about the actually hateful people who support Trump because they are racist or xenophobic or misogynistic or whatever. I'm talking about the average voter who is just trying to live their lives. Granted, I know there is a lot of understated racism and xenophobia and misogyny that is baked into the Republican platform that these people unapologetically support and subscribe to. But from the Trump supporters in my own life, people who I know are good people, they just don't think of the world the same way we do on the left. When they vote, they're not thinking about things like misogyny. None of them see themselves as racist. And even though they vote for policies that are clearly anti-immigrant, I doubt that any of them would self-identify as xenophobic. They vote for anti-immigrant policies because Fox News keeps telling them that criminals are coming in from other countries. And even though most of the Trump supporters I know have never witnessed or experienced this immigrant on white crime themselves, they believe that it's out there. And it's only a matter of time before that crime wave breaks down the gates to their gated communities and comes right to their doorstep unless the government does something. In their minds, they're not anti-immigrant, they're anti-crime. And they're pro-preservation of what they perceive to be the American ideal. It just so happens that that ideal is very white-centric. Apart from that, these people are voting for their dollar, which is something that's less of a critique of them and just a general commentary on how we all vote. We all vote because we would rather our tax dollars be spent in certain places. So when we vote for any party or a candidate, this is just the way democracy works, it's because they promise to spend more of our tax dollars in the places that we want our tax dollars to support. On the left, we tend to be more willing to spend money on programs that benefit more people with the ultimate goal of benefiting entire towns and communities. On the right, they tend to want to see more of their money in their own bank accounts, however that happens, whether it's better tax incentives for the wealthier class or if it's lower prices at the grocery store and gas pump. Either way, we all need to pay taxes. And it is frustrating, to say the least, when the government takes your hard-earned money and spends it in places that you do not support. Nobody likes to see that. Personally, I am not an impulse shopper. I'm very particular about where and how and when I spend my money, and I'm always looking for the best deal on all the things that I have. So frivolous government spending makes my skin crawl. As far as efficient government spending goes, I'm all for it. I don't know who would be against something like that. However, the difference between the left and right on this front is that I don't believe that Elon Musk and Doge are actually going to help us in this aspect. I don't even believe that they're trying to help us with this. The right seems to buy into the promises being made by this billionaire who not only can't relate to their lifestyle or plight, but let's be honest, he does not want to. We all just watched White Lotus. How many people are truly willing to give up their comforts for the sake of altruism? And how much billionaire altruism is just performative? I would say no less than all of it. Also, I understand that many Trump voters sort of don't know any better. They get all of their news from Fox and right-wing podcasters, and they exist in bubbles within their families and their friend groups and their church groups. The same could be said for people on the left, I'm sure. But to break away from that is a big ask of anyone. I mean, let's be fair. If I wanted to switch from left to right, I would lose a lot of my own community. I would have an identity crisis. I would have to rethink everything about who I am, who I was, who I want to be, my values, my beliefs. My marriage would be in jeopardy. And all of that would be scary and daunting for anyone to deal with. My issue with people on the right, though, is that so many of the things that they vote for directly hurt other people. And for all of their talk of being good Christians, that doesn't seem to bother them. So regarding the Fox News bubble that they exist within, some days I'm more forgiving of that, but other days I think that ignorance is a choice in a world where other ideas and perspectives are so easily accessible. And as much as I am not a perfectly good person, I don't think I'd be able to live with myself if I knew that the things I was voting for were designed to hurt innocent people. Ultimately, we on the left have to ask, what is the end goal here? What is the big picture? The goal was always to sway people to our way of looking at things because in a democracy, those numbers matter. So strategically, it makes no sense that now when people are finally interested in hearing what we have to say, that we would turn them away for who they once were. Things like this always remind me about what it was like on vegan YouTube back in the day. It's probably still like this, I don't know, because I stopped paying attention, but I used to peruse vegan YouTube because I just wanted good recipes for vegetables and I figured that they might know a thing or two about cooking vegetables. And they do. But there were always people in the comment sections who would say things like, well, I'm not vegan, but I'm interested in becoming one, and these videos are so helpful for me on my journey. Or they would say things like, I'm not vegan, but I'm trying to eat less meat and be more plant-based. Great. And sometimes they would get responses from people that were very supportive, like, oh, so glad you're willing to explore this lifestyle. Check out these other YouTubers. Let me know if you have any questions, etc., etc. But a surprising number of responses from those people were from vegans shaming them for not being vegan yet, or for not having been vegan all along. Like, aren't these the people that you would want to welcome in with open arms or to not alienate? These are people who are willing and excited to make this lifestyle change. These are people who want to learn more about it. Don't vegans want more people to be vegans because they believe in things like animal welfare and the climate impacts of the meat and dairy industries? And I don't mean to just pick on the vegan community. It happens in a lot of communities, but it never makes sense to me, especially in situations where the numbers matter. If progressives and the left want to win at democracy, we cannot afford to be exclusive. We need to build bridges. We need to speak so that others will listen. And yeah, we need to find forgiveness for the people who we feel have wronged us. Caveat, we need to find forgiveness for the people who now realize that they have wronged us. I would never ask anyone to forgive those who haven't come to that realization yet, because like I said, I'm not even there myself, okay? Some days, like I said, are better than others, all right? That's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.